Hello, my name is Jack Shorrock, and today the filmmaker I will be going over is Greg Fraser. He's a cinematographer from Australia, and this is an exercise in perspective. So, just looking forward, we're going to be starting about his background and his discography of films that he has under his belt, my personal connection and why I chose this filmmaker, and then we're going to go over two different scenes that I find appealing. First, a scene from The Batman. Second, a scene from Dune 2. And then we'll be talking about why these scenes work. We'll look at some future projects that he is predicted or confirmed to be under the helm of, and then we'll close out from there. So, to start, Greg Fraser is an Australian filmmaker known for his visually striking works like Dune, Lion, and The Batman. He was born in Melbourne and he studied at RMIT University, where he developed a passion for video. Fraser won an Academy Award for Best Cinematography for Dune 1 and received nominations for Lion and Dune Part 2. His work on Rogue One, the 2016 film, pioneered the use of the ARRI Alexa 65 camera, enhancing cinematic depth and texture. And he also won an Emmy for his work on The Mandalorian. He is known for his masterful use of shadow, composition, and color. His cinematography has been widely praised by critics and peers, including Roger Deakins. He currently lives in Australia with his wife and costume designer Jodie Freed and their three children. Some of the movies that I wanted to highlight are probably six of his biggest movies. Dune 1 and 2, Rogue One, The Batman, like I said before, but also movies like The Creator and Lion. So the reason why I chose Greg Fraser is for his work on the Batman in particular. I think that he really pioneered things with Rogue One and that use of that camera, but more recently with the Batman, he really combated the standard Hollywood look by what is called dirtying up the frame. He was making sure to use elements in the foreground and background and, having an eye for detail of things that really immerse you into the scene. And he would use those to his advantage. And it really helps the visual storytelling. With that being said, you can see on the pictures on the right, on the top is a frame from the Batman. There's a head on the left and another shoulder on the bottom right of the screen. There's cops in the background, and then there's the main subject that's well lit in the front. But you can see that they're inside, but there's lights on the outside, knowing that they're in a cityscape. One of the characters has the side of their face is red. A lot of people talk about his work on Dune, and I was very excited for that film, and I was blown away by his work on it. As I wrote here, you could pause at any point in that movie, and it's a fantastic frame. So, first scene we're going to be looking at is the Batman.
Come on. Come on, sir.
See this guy? The hell are you supposed to be?
I'm vengeance.
Pretty cool scene there. Definitely one of my favorites of the movie is his reveal. And next up, a scene from Dune 2. Also an awesome scene right there, right before his big speech. So to first start with each of those two scenes, I have a quote from Greg Fraser, one about each of them. So first off, during an interview for the Batman, Greg Fraser talks about his incorporation with the shadows. So he said we really needed to make sure that there was dense black shadows. If you notice in the movie for the first part, or for the most part, we don't have dense black shadows except for the opening. And that was the point that we wanted to make is that he's lurking in those shadows. It's not common for this movie to have complete pitch blackness. The only other time that he can think of that they did that is during the hallway shooting. That was awesome because they associated the Batman with the shadows. So with this encounter that those goons just had, where the Batman just beat the crap out of one of them, and he just came out of the shadows. Now that they associate the Batman with the shadows, he could be anywhere, and that's how he intimidates the criminals of Gotham. And I really liked how they added that into his character. Another one, this time in regards to Dune 2, he was in an interview with Gold Derby. He was discussing how he achieved a certain perspective of Paul in Dune Part 1 and 2. Um, and he said as a cinematographer that he was kind of observing Paul through Chani's eyes, his love interest of the movie. And he says it's a quite clever take on the story that Denis, as a director, has brought to it because you need to feel empathy for Paul, but you also need to sort of understand what he's doing. Yet watching it through Chani's eyes, you don't accept it. I thought this was a great perspective because Paul's story is all about the terrible purpose that he must fulfill. And that scene in particular, when he's walking into the crowd, and I thought it was cool because it showed both perspectives. It showed his perspective of the Fremen that were watching him as he walked by. And then we saw a shot of Paul walking through the crowd, and he was just like sneering. His head was down, but he was looking up at them through the top of his hood, and I thought that really characterized that who he'd become. He had become a combination of Muad'Dib and Paul Atreides, so he is now this all-powerful being. As far as Greg Fraser's future goes, he is confirmed to be returning for the Batman Part 2. Unsure when that's going to be coming out. And then also for a project starring Ryan Gosling, Project Hail Mary. It's unsure. Actually, they have confirmed a cinematographer for Dune Messiah, and it is, I forget his name, but he's the one that did James Bond, or the most recent one, at least, No Time to Die, which I thought that movie was shot great. So not upset about that. I think the Batman is his bread and butter. And that's about it. So thank you for listening.